In a distant future, humanity lived on the edges of an intergalactic alliance known as the Concordium. This coalition of advanced alien civilizations had long considered humans primitive and unimportant. Earth's late arrival to space exploration meant they were often ignored or dismissed during galactic discussions. While other species built sprawling empires among the stars, humanity struggled to keep up, watching from afar as the Concordium fought against its greatest enemy, the Caxatherian swarm. The swarm was a terrifying force. They were not just invaders, they were destroyers. Entire planets had been consumed by their endless hunger for resources. Their armies moved like locusts across galaxies, leaving behind barren wastelands where life once thrived. For decades, the Concordium battled them with little success. Despite their superior technology and vast fleets, the aliens could barely hold their ground against the swarm's overwhelming numbers and brutal tactics. On Earth, most people paid little attention to these cosmic battles. Life went on as usual. People worked, dreamed, and argued over politics without realizing how close danger loomed. But one person knew better. Dr. Elena Vega, a brilliant astrophysicist working at a top-secret research facility in Geneva, had spent years studying deep space signals. Her work involved deciphering faint transmissions that traveled billions of miles through the void. Recently, she'd started noticing strange patterns in the data, patterns that didn't match anything natural. One night, as rain lashed against her lab windows, Vega sat hunched over her computer screen. Lines of code scrolled past her tired eyes, but something caught her attention. A series of anomalies appeared in the signals coming from a nearby star system. At first glance, it looked like random noise, but Vega wasn't so sure. She ran simulations, cross-referenced older datasets, and finally pieced together what it might mean. The swarm was planning something big, something catastrophic. And whatever it was heading toward Earth. Vega immediately reported her findings to the United Nations Space Council, the governing body responsible for Earth's defense. But instead of action, she met resistance. Leaders argued that getting involved in galactic affairs would only provoke the swarm further. "We're too small," one official said dismissively. "Let the Concordium handle it." Frustrated but undeterred, Vega decided to take matters into her own hands. Her chance came sooner than expected. Days later, a distress signal reached Earth, a faint cry for help from a dying alien fleet near Luna Station, humanity's moonbase. It was a Concordium ship, crippled by a swarm attack. Panic spread as reports flooded in about swarm scouts breaching Earth's solar system. For the first time in history, humanity faced a direct threat from beyond the stars. Governments scrambled to respond, but their preparations were laughably inadequate. Earth's military had never fought off-planet before, let alone against an enemy as ruthless as the swarm. As chaos unfolded, Captain Marcus Kane, a decorated pilot haunted by past failures, found himself thrust into the spotlight. Stationed at Luna Base, he led a desperate counterattack when the swarm launched a surprise assault. Though outnumbered and outgunned, Kane's quick thinking bought precious time for civilians to evacuate. During the battle, Kane encountered Commander Zinra, a reptilian officer from the Concordium who had crash-landed during the ambush. Covered in ash and blood, she glared at him with piercing yellow eyes. "You're human," she hissed, clearly skeptical. Kane nodded grimly. Together, they fought side by side, forming an uneasy alliance born out of necessity. Through Zinra, Kane learned shocking truths about the swarm's new weapons and why Earth was now squarely in their sights. As the dust settled and Luna Station burned, one thing became clear. Humanity could no longer sit on the sidelines. Whether they liked it or not, the war had come to them, and if they wanted to survive, they'd have to step up or be wiped out entirely. This sets the stage for humanity's journey into the galactic conflict, introducing key characters like Dr. Vega and Captain Kane, while hinting at the larger stakes ahead. The swarm's attack on Luna Station was swift and merciless. The moon base, humanity's first foothold in space, became a battlefield within minutes. Alien drones descended like shadows, their sleek metallic bodies glinting under the artificial lights of the station. Explosions tore through corridors as panicked civilians scrambled for escape pods. Amidst the chaos, Captain Marcus Kane stood at the helm of his fighter craft, gripping the controls with white-knuckled determination. Kane wasn't new to combat. He'd seen plenty during Earth's internal conflicts. But this was different. The enemy didn't negotiate or retreat. They swarmed relentlessly, overwhelming defenses with sheer numbers. His squadron had already lost 3 ships, their fiery remains drifting silently in the void. Still, he pushed forward, leading a desperate counterattack that aimed to buy time for survivors to evacuate. As Kane maneuvered his ship through the wreckage, something unusual caught his eye. The lone alien vessel, larger than the others, floated near the edge of the battlefield. Its hull bore strange markings, unlike anything he'd seen from the swarm. Curiosity got the better of him, and he signaled his team to cover him while he investigated. Inside the alien ship, Kane found Commander Zinra. She was injured, her scaled skin smeared with ash and blood, but her sharp yellow eyes burned with defiance. At first glance, she looked more predator than ally, her elongated claws resting on the hilt of a weapon strapped to her side. When Kane entered, she bared her teeth, hissing a warning in an unfamiliar tongue. "Easy," Kane said, raising his hand slowly. "I'm not here to hurt you." Zinra tilted her head, studying him with suspicion. After a tense moment, she switched to halting but understandable English. "You, human?" "Yes," Kane replied. "And unless we work together, neither of us is getting out of here alive." Reluctantly, Zinra agreed to cooperate. Together, they fought their way back to Kane's ship, dodging swarm patrols and narrowly avoiding traps set by the hive mind-controlled drones. Along the way, Zinra revealed crucial information about the enemy. The swarm wasn't just mindless. It operated under a centralized intelligence, a queen who directed every movement from afar. Destroying her would collapse the entire network, but reaching her was nearly impossible. Back aboard Kane's fighter, Zinra explained why the swarm had targeted Luna Station. "They seek resources," she growled. "Your planet is rich with minerals and energy. Once they finish here, Earth will be next." Kane clenched his jaw, anger boiling inside him. He'd always thought of space as vast and indifferent, but now he realized how fragile humanity's position truly was. If the swarm reached Earth, there would be no stopping them. Their escape route was cut off when a massive swarm cruiser appeared, blocking their path. Outgunned and outnumbered, Kane knew they couldn't win a direct confrontation. Instead, he relied on instinct and improvisation. Using debris from destroyed ships, he created a makeshift barricade, luring the swarm into a trap. With precise timing, he fired a barrage of missiles, igniting a chain reaction that sent the cruiser spiraling into oblivion. For a brief moment, the battlefield fell silent. Kane turned to Zinra, breathing heavily. "You said your people underestimated us. Maybe it's time someone gave them a wake-up call." Zinra stared at him, her expression unreadable. Then, after a pause, she nodded. "Perhaps humans are not as primitive as we believed." The victory was short-lived. As they approached the safety of Earth's orbit, distress signals flooded their comms. The swarm had breached the outer defense grid, and panic gripped the planet below. For the first time in history, humanity faced extinction, not from itself, but from an alien menace beyond comprehension. Yet amidst the fear, a spark of resolve ignited. Kane glanced at Zinra, then back at Earth glowing faintly in the distance. "Looks like we got work to do," he muttered. Little did he know, this was only the beginning. This part introduces the tension of humanity's first real encounter with the swarm, deepens Kane and Zinra's alliance, and sets up the stakes for Earth's survival. Back on Earth, the news of the swarm's attack spread like wildfire. Panic gripped cities as people watched live footage of Luna Station burning in space. Governments around the world convened an emergency summit at the United Nations headquarters in Geneva. For once, political divisions took a backseat to the looming threat from beyond the stars. Dr. Elena Vega stood before the assembled leaders, her voice steady despite the weight of what she was about to say. The swarm isn't just attacking random targets. They're targeting us, she explained, pointing to data projections displayed on massive screens. Their patterns show they're mapping our defenses and preparing for a full-scale invasion. Some leaders argued that humanity should stay out of the conflict altogether. We're too weak, one ambassador shouted. If we provoke them further, they'll destroy us completely. Others countered that doing nothing would only delay the inevitable. The swarm wouldn't stop until Earth was stripped bare. Captain Marcus Kane, fresh from his harrowing battle at Luna Station, spoke next. His uniform bore scorch marks, and his face carried the exhaustion of someone who'd seen too much death. They've already attacked us, he said firmly. This isn't about provoking them. It's about survival. We can either fight now or wait for them to come knocking on our door. His words resonated deeply with the room. But it was Commander Zinra, seated quietly in the corner, who delivered the final blow. Rising to her feet, she addressed the council in slow but clear English. Your hesitation is understandable, she began, her reptilian features drawing uneasy glances. But understand this. The swarm does not negotiate. They do not retreat. They consume everything in their path. If you refuse to act, your planet will become another empty husk in their wake. Her blunt honesty struck a nerve. After hours of heated debate, the decision was made. Humanity would join the war, but on its own terms. Rather than being absorbed into the Concordium's military structure, Earth would operate independently under its own command. This bold move shocked both allies and enemies alike. Some members of the Concordium saw it as reckless arrogance, while others admired humanity's determination. With unity secured, attention turned to Project Aegis, a classified initiative led by Dr. Vega. Hidden deep beneath the Arctic ice, the project aimed to harness quantum energy for advanced propulsion and weaponry. Though experimental, it represented humanity's best chance against the swarm. Vega briefed the newly formed War Council, explaining how the quantum core could power weapons capable of piercing even the swarm's toughest defenses. It's risky, she admitted, but if we don't try, we have no hope. As plans unfolded, Captain Kane volunteered to lead Task Force Horizon, a multinational strike force composed of Earth's finest pilots, engineers, and strategists. Among them was Lieutenant Priya Singh, a tactical genius known for her ability to think 3 steps ahead. Her calm demeanor masked a fierce intellect that had earned her respect and occasional frustration from her peers. Training began aboard the Aegis carrier, a massive starship designed to house the quantum core. Morale was mixed. Seasoned soldiers doubted whether scientists and engineers could keep up in combat, while researchers struggled to adapt to military discipline. Tensions flared during drills, but Kane refused to let infighting weaken their resolve. One evening, after a particularly grueling session, Kane approached Vega in the carrier's observation deck. The Earth below shimmered against the blackness of space. "Do you really think we can pull this off?" he asked quietly. Vega sighed, leaning against the railing. "I don't know," she admitted. "But I do know this. Humans have always risen to the occasion when pushed to the edge. Maybe this time won't be any different." Kane nodded, gazing at the blue-green orb floating silently in the distance. For the first time in days, he felt a flicker of hope. Humanity might be small compared to the galaxy's giants, but size didn't determine strength. Determination did, and humanity was determined to survive. This part highlights humanity's decision to step up, introduces key elements like Project Aegis, and builds anticipation for the challenges ahead. The Aegis carrier hummed with activity as Task Force Horizon prepared for their first mission. The massive starship, powered by Dr. Elena Vega's quantum core, served not only as a mobile command center, but also as a training ground for humanity's most ambitious endeavor yet. Pilots practiced dogfighting maneuvers in simulated zero-gravity environments. Engineers fine-tuned experimental weapon systems, and strategists pored over battle plans late into the night. Captain Marcus Kane walked through the bustling corridors, observing his team with a mix of pride and concern. These were Earth's best, hand-picked from every corner of the globe, but they weren't soldiers bred for interstellar warfare. Many had never even left the planet before joining this mission. Yet here they were, stepping up to face an enemy that had decimated civilizations far more advanced than theirs. Lieutenant Priya Singh stood out among them. Her tactical brilliance shone during simulations, where she devised strategies so unconventional they baffled both allies and simulated foes alike. During one exercise, she orchestrated a feint attack using decoy drones to draw enemy fire while her squadron flanked them from behind. When the simulation ended, cheers erupted across the control room. Even Commander Zinra, who had initially doubted humanity's capabilities, nodded approvingly. "Clever," she muttered under her breath. "Very clever." But not everyone shared Singh's adaptability. Tensions simmered between seasoned pilots like Captain Rourke and the younger recruits fresh out of flight school. Rourke, a grizzled veteran with decades of experience, resented being told how to fly by kids who've barely seen a cockpit. During a heated argument after a failed drill, he slammed his helmet onto the table. "These fancy gadgets won't save us if we can't handle the basics." Singh stepped in calmly, her voice steady despite the rising frustration around her. "The swarm doesn't care about our basics," she said firmly. "They'll overwhelm us unless we think differently. Adaptation is survival." Her words struck a chord, though reluctantly. Over time, respect grew between the old guard and the newcomers. Late-night conversations turned into brainstorming sessions, blending traditional combat skills with innovative tactics born from necessity. Bonds formed slowly but surely, uniting people from vastly different backgrounds under a single purpose. Meanwhile, Vega worked tirelessly alongside Zinra to refine the quantum core's stability. Though immensely powerful, it remained unpredictable, an unstable heart at the center of their operation. One evening, as alarms blared during a test run, Vega nearly panicked when energy fluctuations threatened to overload the system. Zinra acted quickly, stabilizing the core with knowledge gained from years of studying similar technologies within the Concordium. "You're lucky I'm here," Zinra quipped afterward, smirking slightly. Vega managed a tired smile. Lucky, or just smart enough to ask for help. As days passed, small victories boosted morale. A prototype plasma cannon successfully destroyed a target drone in record time. A new shield generator proved capable of deflecting swarm projectiles during testing. Each success fueled determination, pushing the crew closer to readiness. Kane often found himself reflecting on these moments, watching his team grow stronger together. He remembered his own doubts when he first took command, fears that he wasn't good enough to lead such a critical mission. But seeing the resilience and ingenuity of those around him reminded him why he'd accepted the role. Humanity might have been underestimated, but they weren't giving up without a fight. One night, as the carrier drifted silently through space, Kane joined Vega in the observation deck. Below them, Earth glowed faintly against the endless void. "Do you think we're ready?" he asked quietly. Vega hesitated before answering. "No one's ever truly ready for something like this," she admitted. "But we've got grit. And sometimes, that's all you need." Kane nodded, staring at the stars ahead. Whatever came next, they'd face it together. This part focuses on the challenges and growth of Task Force Horizon, highlighting teamwork, innovation, and the emotional stakes building toward their mission. Months after the fall of the Swarm's queen, Earth stood transformed. The scars of battle had begun to heal, but humanity's spirit burned brighter than ever. Cities buzzed with renewed energy as people embraced their place among the stars. Streets once filled with fear now overflowed with hope and ambition. Children gazed at night skies, not with dread, but with dreams of exploration. Humanity was no longer an isolated species. It was part of something vast, interconnected, and alive. Captain Marcus Kane stood on a hill overlooking Geneva, watching fireworks light up the horizon. Unity Day celebrations stretched across continents, each nation adding its own flair to the global festivities. Yet Kane felt no urge to join the crowds below. Instead, he preferred solitude, his thoughts drifting back to those who had made this moment possible. He reached into his pocket, pulling out a small photograph of Lieutenant Priya Singh. Her smile seemed almost alive in the flickering glow of distant explosions. "She'd have loved this," a voice said behind him. Dr. Elena Vega approached, her coat flapping gently in the cool breeze. She stopped beside him, folding her arms against the chill. All of it, the unity, the progress, the sense of purpose. "It's everything," she fought for. Kane nodded silently, tucking the photo back into his pocket. "It's strange," he admitted after a pause. "For so long, we thought survival meant staying hidden, keeping our heads down. Now look at us, out there, exploring, building bridges with others. I wonder what she'd say if she could see how far we've come." Vega smiled faintly. "She'd probably tell you to stop getting sentimental and focus on the next mission." They shared a quiet laugh, the sound blending seamlessly with the distant hum of celebration. For all the changes sweeping through Earth, some things remained constant, including the bond forged between those who had faced the impossible together. Task Force Horizon had evolved into the Horizon Initiative, a program dedicated to peaceful exploration rather than combat. Ships launched daily from orbital stations, venturing into uncharted regions of space. Pilots like Kane trained new recruits, passing down lessons learned in the crucible of war. Scientists collaborated with alien counterparts, sharing knowledge that pushed the boundaries of what was thought possible. Even Commander Zinra returned occasionally, bringing updates from the Concordium and gifts symbolizing gratitude for humanity's role in saving countless lives. But the work wasn't without challenges. Remnants of the swarm still lingered in deep space, fragmented but dangerous. Diplomatic tensions arose as humanity navigated its newfound status among older, more established civilizations. Some feared humans might repeat mistakes of the past, overreaching, exploiting resources, or provoking conflict. But Kane believed otherwise. "We're better than that," he often told his team. "We've seen what happens when greed and fear rule. This time, we'll do it differently." One evening, as Vega stood atop another hill, this one overlooking a bustling launchpad bathed in starlight, she reflected on the journey ahead. Humanity had faced extinction and emerged stronger, not because they were invincible, but because they refused to give up. They had proven themselves capable not only of survival but of growth, compassion, and innovation. Her gaze lifted skyward, tracing constellations unfamiliar yet inviting. Somewhere out there lay answers to questions humanity hadn't even thought to ask. And somewhere closer, aboard ships bearing Earth's flag alongside symbols of alien alliances, brave souls carried the torch of discovery forward. As fireworks erupted one final time, painting the heavens with streaks of gold and blue, Vega whispered softly to herself, "We've only just begun." The camera panned upward, revealing countless ships departing Earth, their engines glowing like fireflies against the infinite blackness. Each vessel carried dreams of peace, understanding, and unity, a testament to humanity's resilience and boundless potential. And so, under the watchful eyes of the cosmos, humanity stepped boldly into the future, ready to write its story among the stars. This closing chapter emphasizes reflection, legacy, and optimism, leaving readers inspired by humanity's enduring spirit and limitless possibilities. The day finally came when Task Force Horizon was ready to take its first real step into the war. Their mission was clear but perilous: infiltrate a swarm-controlled planet deep within enemy territory to gather intelligence on the Queen's location. The success of this operation would determine whether humanity could strike back effectively or remain forever on the defensive. Captain Marcus Kane stood in the briefing room, addressing his team with quiet intensity. Holographic maps floated above the table, displaying the target planet, a desolate world scared by the swarm's resource extraction. "This isn't just another simulation," he said firmly. "Out there, one mistake means death for all of us." Lieutenant Priya Singh leaned forward, studying the map intently. She pointed to a narrow canyon cutting through the planet's surface. "We can use this as cover during our approach," she suggested. "It'll mask our heat signatures and give us time to deploy decoys before they detect us." Commander Zinra nodded approvingly. "Good thinking. But remember, the swarm doesn't rely solely on sensors. Their hive mind allows them to anticipate movements, stay unpredictable." With plans finalized, the team boarded their ships and launched from the Aegis carrier, cloaked in experimental stealth technology reverse-engineered from Concordium designs. They slipped past automated sentries guarding the planet's orbit. As they descended into the atmosphere, the barren landscape stretched endlessly below, ravaged by mining operations that left behind jagged craters and twisted metal structures. Splitting into two squads, Task Force Horizon moved cautiously across the terrain. Kane led Squad Alpha toward what appeared to be a central processing hub, while Singh commanded Squad Beta to scout nearby drone nests. Every step felt tense. Even the slightest noise could alert the swarm. Inside the processing hub, Kane's squad discovered horrifying evidence of the swarm's efficiency. Organic material oozed from massive vats, feeding biomechanical constructs that pulsed with life. Alien workers, enslaved species captured during previous invasions, labored tirelessly under the watchful eyes of swarm overseers. It was a grim reminder of what awaited Earth if humanity failed. Singh's squad encountered trouble first. A patrol of swarm drones detected their presence despite the cloaking field. Thinking quickly, Singh ordered her team to release decoy signals mimicking larger targets. The drones hesitated, confused, giving Singh enough time to disable them silently. But the victory was short-lived. Back at the processing hub, alarms blared as Kane's squad accidentally triggered a security system. Swarms of drones poured into the chamber, forcing them to fight their way out. Bullets ricocheted off metallic carapaces, and plasma blasts lit up the dim corridors. Despite heavy resistance, Kane kept his team focused. "Stick to the plan," he shouted over the chaos. As both squads regrouped outside, they realized they'd been compromised. The swarm knew they were there. Singh proposed using the distraction to launch an EMP pulse designed to temporarily disable nearby defenses. With seconds to spare, Rourke rigged a makeshift device, detonating it just as reinforcements arrived. The resulting shockwave crippled dozens of drones, buying them precious moments to escape. Back aboard their ships, the team exhaled in relief, but not for long. Analysis of the data they'd collected revealed something chilling. The Queen wasn't merely directing operations remotely. She was physically present, commanding from a heavily fortified superstructure orbiting a dying star. Reaching her would require navigating impossible odds. Kane stared at the intel, his jaw tightening. "This changes everything," he muttered. Turning to his crew, he added, "If we're going to end this, we need to hit them where it hurts, and fast." No one spoke as the weight of the task ahead sank in. Humanity had taken its first steps into the galactic battlefield. Now they needed to prove they belonged. This part builds tension through action-packed infiltration, showcases teamwork under pressure, and sets up the stakes for confronting the swarm's queen. Back aboard the Aegis carrier, Task Force Horizon gathered in the war room, their faces grim but resolute. The data recovered from the swarm-controlled planet painted a clear picture. The Queen was no longer hidden behind layers of proxies or automated forces. She had positioned herself at the heart of a colossal fortress orbiting a dying star, a location so hostile that even the Concordium had avoided it. Dr. Elena Vega stood before a holographic projection of the fortress, her voice steady despite the enormity of what she was about to propose. "This isn't just any structure," she began. "It's a self-sustaining hive mind hub. Every decision the swarm makes originates here. If we destroy it, and the Queen, we collapse their entire network." Captain Marcus Kane crossed his arms, studying the image intently. How do you suggest we get close enough to take it down? That thing's bristling with defenses. Vega hesitated, then activated another layer of the projection. It revealed a swirling blue sphere surrounding the fortress. This is where the quantum core comes in, she explained. We'll use its energy to create a localized temporal disruption, a bubble that slows time within its radius. Inside, everything will move at a fraction of normal speed, giving us enough time to neutralize the Queen. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. Lieutenant Priya Singh broke the silence first. Slowing time sounds impossible and dangerous. It is, Vega admitted. If the core destabilizes, it could wipe out the entire region, including us and the carrier. Commander Zinra stepped forward, her scaled features unreadable. Such power is unprecedented, she said cautiously. Even among my people, attempts like this have ended in disaster. Are you certain your technology can handle it? I'm not certain of anything, Vega replied honestly. But we don't have another option. This might be our only chance to end the swarm once and for all. Kane nodded slowly, his mind racing. He turned to his team. We've trained for situations like this. We adapt, improvise, and survive. If anyone can pull this off, it's us. Over the next few days, every member of Task Force Horizon contributed to refining the plan. Engineers worked around the clock to stabilize the quantum core, while pilots practiced maneuvers designed to slip past the fortress's outer defenses. Singh devised contingency strategies for every possible scenario, ensuring the team would be prepared for anything. During one late-night session, Kane found Vega alone in the observation deck, staring out at the stars. Her shoulders sagged with exhaustion, but her eyes burned with determination. "You're pushing yourself too hard," he said gently. "You know failure isn't an option. But neither is burning out before we even start." Vega smiled weakly. "I just keep thinking about how much rests on this. If we fail..." She trailed off, unable to finish the thought. "We won't," Kane interrupted firmly. "Not because we're perfect, but because we refuse to give up." As preparations neared completion, personal connections deepened among the crew. Rourke, who had initially clashed with Singh over strategy, now sought her advice during drills, impressed by her quick thinking. Even Zinra softened slightly, sharing stories of her own battles against the swarm. These moments of camaraderie became anchors of hope amidst mounting tension. Finally, the day of reckoning arrived. Standing before his assembled team, Kane delivered a stirring speech. "Out there, we're not just fighting for Earth. We're proving that humanity belongs among the stars. Whatever happens, I'm proud to stand beside each of you." With those words, Task Force Horizon boarded their ships, ready to face the greatest challenge of their lives. As the engines roared to life, Vega monitored the quantum core one last time. Its hum filled the air, vibrating with raw potential. Success or failure hung in the balance. But no one doubted they were ready to fight. This part focuses on humanity's daring plan, emotional stakes, and unity as they prepare for their most critical mission yet. The Aegis carrier emerged from hyperspace near the swarm's fortress, its sleek hull shimmering faintly against the backdrop of a dying star. The fortress loomed ahead, a monstrous construct bristling with weapons turrets, energy shields, and swarms of drones patrolling its perimeter. It pulsed with an eerie organic glow, as if it were alive, feeding off the chaos around it. Captain Marcus Kane tightened his grip on the controls of his fighter craft, leading Task Force Horizon toward their target. "Stay sharp," he said over the comms, his voice steady but tense. "This is where things get messy." Almost immediately, alarms blared as the swarm detected their presence. Waves of enemy ships surged forward, their movements synchronized like a single organism. Plasma fire streaked across space, forcing the human fleet to scatter. Pilots weaved through the chaos, relying on quick reflexes and Singh's pre-planned evasive tactics. Lieutenant Priya Singh's voice crackled over the channel. "Deploy decoys now. Her squadron released holographic projections designed to mimic larger vessels. The swarm hesitated for a split second, just long enough for Singh's team to flank them. Explosions lit up the void as human fighters unleashed salvos of missiles, taking down several drones in rapid succession. Meanwhile, Captain Rourke led a diversionary assault on the fortress's outer defenses. His gruff demeanor masked nerves of steel as he barked orders to his wingmen. "Focus fire on those turrets. We need a gap." Inside the Aegis carrier, Dr. Elena Vega monitored the quantum core's stability, sweat trickling down her brow. Alarms flashed red as energy fluctuations threatened to overload the system. Beside her, Commander Zinra worked frantically to recalibrate the core's containment fields. "If this fails," Zinra muttered, "we'll be nothing more than stardust." Vega didn't respond. She couldn't afford distractions. Not now. With trembling hands, she adjusted the core's settings, stabilizing it just as another wave of swarm reinforcements arrived. "Core holding steady," she announced, exhaling sharply. "We're good. For now." Back in the fray, Kane's ship took heavy fire during a daring maneuver to protect a damaged ally. Sparks flew inside his cockpit as warning lights screamed. He gritted his teeth, pushing the throttle to maximum. "I'm fine," he snapped when Singh asked if he needed backup. "Keep your focus on the objective." Singh obeyed, directing her squad to create openings in the swarm's defensive lines. Their teamwork was flawless, each pilot anticipating the other's moves as though they've been flying together for years. Slowly but surely, they carved a path toward the fortress. Finally, Kane gave the order. "Initiate the temporal disruption." Vega activated the quantum core, unleashing a shimmering blue bubble that enveloped the fortress. Inside, time slowed dramatically. Drones hovered mid-flight. Projectiles froze in place, and even the pulsating glow of the structure dimmed. Task Force Horizon breached the fortress under the cover of slowed time, landing on a docking platform crawling with grotesque biomechanical constructs. Each step felt sluggish, as though wading through molasses, but the team pressed on, determined to reach the Queen's chamber. It wasn't long before they encountered resistance. Though immobilized by the temporal field, some swarm units still functioned partially, lashing out with jerky movements. Singh coordinated efforts to disable them while Rourke improvised repairs to a jammed door using tools scavenged from fallen enemies. As they neared the Queen's lair, the air grew heavier, charged with psychic energy. Kane glanced back at his team, seeing exhaustion etched on their faces, but also resolve. They had made it this far. There was no turning back. "We do this together," Kane said firmly, drawing his weapon. "For Earth, for everyone counting on us." With those words, they pushed open the final door, stepping into the heart of the swarm's empire. The Queen awaited them, a towering monstrosity radiating power and malice. Even slowed by time, her presence was overwhelming. But humanity had faced impossible odds before, and this time, they intended to win. This part emphasizes intense action, teamwork, and the emotional weight of confronting the swarm's queen, keeping readers engaged as the climax approaches. Inside the Queen's chamber, Task Force Horizon faced their greatest challenge yet. The temporal disruption slowed everything to a crawl, but the sheer scale of the swarm's central hub was overwhelming. Towering biomechanical constructs pulsed with organic energy, their grotesque forms writhing even in frozen time. At the center of it all stood the Queen, a monstrous entity larger than any ship Kane had ever seen. Her segmented body shimmered with an iridescent glow, and tendrils of psychic energy radiated outward, attempting to crush intruders under waves of despair. Captain Marcus Kane led his team forward, each step feeling like wading through molasses. Every movement required immense effort, but they pressed on, driven by determination. Lieutenant Priya Singh scanned the chamber, her tactical mind racing despite the surreal environment. "We need to sever her connection to the hive mind," she said over the comms. "If we can upload Vega's virus into her neural interface, we might collapse the network." Commander Zinra stepped closer to the Queen, her reptilian eyes narrowing as she studied the alien monstrosity. Her defenses are still active, even in this state, she warned. Be careful, she's not entirely immobilized. As if to confirm Zinra's warning, one of the queen's massive claws twitched violently, narrowly missing Rourke, who dove out of the way just in time. He cursed loudly, clutching his chest. This thing's still dangerous, he shouted, his voice trained. Kane nodded grimly. Stay focused. We don't have much time before the core destabilizes. Dr. Elena Vega's voice crackled through their earpieces from the Aegis carrier. The quantum field is holding, for now. But instability is rising faster than expected. You've got less than 5 minutes before it collapses completely. Singh quickly devised a plan. Kane, you and Zinra distract her while I set up the upload sequence. Rourke, cover my vac. I'll need at least 30 seconds to complete the transfer. Without hesitation, Kane moved toward the queen, drawing her attention. Though slowed by the temporal field, her psychic attacks hit hard, flooding his mind with visions of Earth burning, humanity enslaved, and endless destruction. Pain seared through him, but he gritted his teeth, refusing to give in. Not today, he growled, forcing himself to stand tall. Zinra joined him, wielding a plasma blade gifted by her people. She slashed at the queen's tendrils, severing those that reached for Kane. Sparks flew as metal met alien flesh, and the queen let out a low guttural roar that vibrated through the chamber. Meanwhile, Singh worked furiously at a control panel near the base of the queen's throne-like structure. Her fingers flew across holographic interfaces, bypassing layers of security protocols. Sweat dripped down her face as alarms blared around her. Almost there, she muttered under her breath. Rourke guarded her position, firing bursts from his rifle at partially active swarm units closing in. Hurry up, Singh, he yelled, dodging a claw swipe from a drone. They're getting too close. I'm trying, she snapped, her focus unbroken. With seconds left, she initiated the final upload sequence. A surge of data flooded the queen's system, causing her body to convulse violently. The ground shook beneath their feet as the fortress began to destabilize. Suddenly, the quantum core's alarms screamed louder. Vega's panicked voice echoed in their ears. Get out of there now. Core destabilization imminent. Singh hesitated, realizing the virus needed a manual override to finish deployment. Without hesitation, she made her decision. Go. I'll stay and finish it, she ordered, pushing Rourke away when he tried to argue. No, Kane shouted, rushing toward her. But Singh activated the override herself, sealing her fate. Tell them. We won, she whispered, smiling faintly as the chamber filled with light. The team barely escaped as the fortress imploded behind them, collapsing into oblivion. Back aboard the carrier, silence fell as they mourned Singh's sacrifice, but also celebrated her bravery. Humanity had struck its most decisive blow yet. And the swarm, they were no longer invincible. This part delivers high-stakes tension, emotional impact, and a heroic sacrifice, driving home the cost of victory while keeping readers hooked for the resolution. The Aegis carrier drifted in silence as the fortress collapsed into a swirling vortex of fire and debris. Task Force Horizon stood frozen in shock, their bodies battered but alive. The weight of what they had accomplished and lost settled heavily over them. Lieutenant Priya Singh's sacrifice weighed most of all. Her final words echoed in their minds. Tell them, we won. Captain Marcus Kane clenched his fists, staring out at the dying star where the Queen's fortress once loomed. His voice was hoarse when he finally spoke. She did it, he said quietly. We did it. Dr. Elena Vega wiped tears from her eyes, her hands trembling as she analyzed data streaming in from the battle zone. The quantum core's temporal disruption had destabilized the fortress, but Singh's virus had done far more. It had severed the Queen's connection to the hive mind network. Across galaxies, reports poured in from Concordium forces. Swarm drones were shutting down en masse, their synchronized movements replaced by chaotic disarray. For the first time in decades, the tide of the war had turned. Commander Zinra approached Kane, her usual stoic demeanor softened by something resembling awe. "Your species has proven itself today," she said, her tone almost reverent. "You've achieved what no one else could. The swarm is broken." Kane nodded, though his expression remained grim. "At a cost," he replied. "Sing gave everything so we could live. I won't forget that, or let her sacrifice be wasted." As news of the victory spread, celebrations erupted across Earth. Cities lit up with fireworks, and crowds gathered in streets, cheering for heroes they would never meet. World leaders delivered speeches praising humanity's courage and ingenuity. The United Nations Space Council declared this day Unity Day, marking humanity's official entry into the galactic stage, not as outsiders, but as equals. But aboard the Aegis carrier, there was little room for celebration. Instead, the crew honored Sing in their own way. In the observation deck, they held a quiet memorial service. Rourke placed a small photograph of Sing on a makeshift altar, a candid shot taken during training, her face glowing with determination. "She was the smartest person I ever met," he said, his voice thick with emotion. "And she saved us all." Vega stepped forward next, holding back tears. Priya didn't just think outside the box. She reinvented it. She taught us to adapt, to fight smarter, not harder. We owe her everything. Kane concluded the ceremony with a solemn vow. "Her bravery will define us moving forward. From now on, every mission we undertake, every life we protect, will honor her memory." Back on Earth, the impact of the victory rippled outward. Humanity's newfound status among the Concordium opened doors long closed to them. Alien diplomats arrived bearing gifts and offers of alliance, eager to work alongside the species that had single-handedly crippled the swarm. Factories ramped up production of advanced technologies shared by their new allies, while universities expanded programs dedicated to interstellar cooperation. Yet, amidst the triumph, challenges remained. The swarm wasn't entirely eradicated. Remnants lingered in distant corners of the galaxy, waiting for an opportunity to regroup. And closer to home, humanity grappled with the moral complexities of wielding such immense power. As Vega reminded Kane during one late-night conversation, winning a war isn't the end. It's the beginning of learning how to keep the peace. Still, hope burned brighter than ever. Task Force Horizon transitioned into an exploratory division, venturing into uncharted regions of space. Kane assumed leadership of the program, guiding humanity toward peaceful coexistence with other species. He carried Sing's photo with him everywhere, a constant reminder of the price of progress and the promise of a better future. In the weeks that followed, Earth thrived as a beacon of unity and innovation. Humanity had stepped onto the galactic stage, not as conquerors, but as contributors. For the first time in history, the stars felt within reach, not as distant lights, but as destinations. And somewhere beyond the void, the legacy of Lieutenant Priya Singh lived on. This part balances emotional reflection, global impact, and hopeful anticipation, setting the stage for humanity's continued journey among the stars.